The battlefield and the warrior. The stars burned like cold fire in the dark sky. The battlefield was endless. Broken ships floated in silence, laser fire still flashing across the void. Smoke and wreckage turning space into a graveyard. Among the chaos moved one human warrior. His name was Captain Arik. He was not the strongest, he was not the fastest, but his heart carried a fire that no alien weapon could put out. He fought not for glory, but for survival, for Earth. For the people waiting back home, the aliens thought humans were weak, soft creatures of a small planet. But in the middle of this war, Arik had proved them wrong many times. His courage was like a weapon sharper than steel. Every battle he survived made him more dangerous, more feared. The alien empire was vast, its ships larger than mountains, its armies endless, and at the very top was their queen. A being of mystery and terror, her word could move fleets. Her hand could decide the fate of worlds. No one dared to stand against her, no one except the stubborn humans who refused to bow. Arik's squad had been scattered during the fight, the human fleet crushed by superior numbers. Yet he still moved forward, his rifle in his hands, his armor broken, blood running down his face. He kept fighting through the wreckage. He had lost friends, he had lost his ship, but he would not lose himself. The silence of space was broken by the roar of alien fighters, chasing him through the corridors of a half-destroyed mothership. Arik ducked under falling metal, jumped across burning wires, his lungs burning, his heart racing. Still he did not stop. A wrong turn, a desperate run, and suddenly he found himself inside a chamber unlike any other he had seen. It was not a war room, it was not a prison. It was something ancient, filled with glowing light and strange symbols. The air was thick, heavy, almost alive. At the center of the chamber stood the alien queen, taller than any soldier. Her body a strange mix of beauty and terror. Her eyes glowed with power. Her presence alone could freeze the heart of the bravest warrior. And now she was staring at Arik, the lone human who had stumbled into her lair. He should have died at that moment. Her guards should have cut him down. Yet for some reason she raised her hand and stopped them. Silence filled the room. Only the sound of Arik's heavy breath could be heard. The queen's voice echoed inside his mind. Smooth and dangerous, she asked him why he was not afraid, why he dared to stand before her. Arik tightened his grip on his weapon, but he did not raise it. His eyes met hers, and with calm words he told her that fear was useless. Death would come anyway, and he would face it like a warrior. For the first time, the queen felt something strange. No alien general had ever spoken to her like this. No one had dared. She moved closer, her steps slow, her power heavy. But Arik did not move, he did not run, he stood like a stone. Their eyes locked, human and alien, predator and prey. But something changed in that moment. The energy in the room shifted. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter. The queen's body trembled for a heartbeat, and Arik felt a shock of heat running through him. He did not understand. He thought it was death coming for him. But the queen stepped back, her face unreadable, her voice softer now. She told her guards to leave them alone. Arik was confused. He was weak, bleeding, ready for the end, yet somehow the queen had spared him. The chamber grew silent again, the air thick with something unseen. Arik's head spun. He felt drawn toward her, though his mind screamed to resist. The queen studied him like a puzzle, like a danger and a secret at the same time. The battlefield outside still raged. Fleets still fired. Soldiers still screamed. But inside this chamber, a different war was beginning. Not of ships, not of guns, but of fate itself. Arik did not know that this meeting would change the galaxy. He did not know that his life would be tied to hers. He did not know that a single mistake, a single accident, was about to begin a story that neither human nor alien could have ever imagined. And as the chamber doors closed, cutting off the noise of war, the warrior and the queen stood facing each other. Two enemies, two worlds, about to cross a line that would never be undone. The unexpected encounter. The chamber was alive with silence. The kind of silence that carried weight. The kind that pressed down on the skin. Captain Arik stood with his weapon heavy in his hands, his chest rising and falling with sharp breath. The glow of alien symbols painted his armor in strange colors. Before him stood the alien queen, her presence towering, her body made of elegant horror. Parts of her looked alive with energy. Other parts looked like black steel carved into living flesh. Her eyes were not simple eyes. They were like twin suns burning with an intelligence that could crush weaker minds. Yet she did not strike. Arik had faced death before. He had seen soldiers burn, ships fall, friends turn into dust. But this moment was different. His mind screamed that this was his end, but something inside whispered to stand still, To not run, to not fight. The queen tilted her head, watching him as though he were not prey but something she did not understand. Her thoughts stretched into his mind. Not words spoken by a mouth, but voices echoing inside his skull. She asked him who he was, a fragile human standing before her throne. Arik answered with honesty. He said he was just a soldier. Nothing more, nothing less, a man caught in a war too big for him, yet unwilling to bow, unwilling to surrender. His words carried no fear, and the queen felt it. Inside her chest something shifted, something she had never known before. She had seen thousands of warriors die. She had watched empires kneel, but this human's courage, his refusal to bend, touched her in a way that unsettled her throne of power. Her guards, confused and angry, hissed in the shadows, waiting for her command, but she raised her clawed hand and silenced them, her eyes never leaving the human. The chamber pulsed, lights flickered, and the air thickened. A strange energy spread between them, invisible yet undeniable. Arik felt heat in his veins, a rush of power that did not belong to him. His knees nearly buckled, but still he stood tall. The queen stepped closer, her long shadow covering him. Her voice inside his head turned softer. Curious, she asked him again why he did not tremble, why his eyes did not look away. Arik spoke with a dry throat. He said he had seen fear. He had carried fear, but he had also learned that fear does nothing. Death will come whether you fear it or not, so he chose to meet it without chains. The queen felt her chest stir again, her power flickered, and for a moment she saw not a fragile soldier, but a mirror of something she had lost long ago, strength born not from weapons but from will. Then it happened. The chamber's energy surged. The alien symbols burned bright like fire. The walls shook as if the room itself was alive. A strange light wrapped around both the queen and the warrior. Arik gasped as it entered his body, burning his blood, changing his pulse. The queen's body trembled as well. A sharp pain mixed with a sharp pleasure, something new to her ancient form. She stumbled back, her claws gripping the throne. Her guards moved in panic, but she shouted with power that froze them in place. Arik dropped to one knee, the weapon slipping from his hands. Sweat pouring down his face, his heart beating like a hammer ready to break his chest. He thought he was dying, but he was not. He was changing. The queen looked at him with wide eyes, her breath uneven, her mind racing. This was no ordinary human. His blood carried something her body responded to, something that her empire's science had never prepared her for. For the first time in centuries, the alien queen felt uncertainty. She felt weakness, but not from her enemies, not from rebellion, not from war. It came from a single human standing before her. Arik raised his head slowly, meeting her gaze once more. The bond between them now undeniable, something invisible tying their fates together. The queen turned away, hiding her face from her guards. She could not let them see. She could not show weakness. She waved her hand, commanding them to leave, and reluctantly they obeyed, the chamber doors closing with heavy echoes. Now it was only the queen and the warrior. The silence deep again. Arik's voice cracked as he asked why she spared him, why she did not finish him like all the others. Her eyes glowed softer, her words whispered in his mind. She said she did not know. She said his presence was strange, his spirit was dangerous. His blood was different. Arik did not understand. He thought it was just her way of mocking him, but he could feel the truth in her voice. He could feel the strange connection crawling through his veins, tying him to her heartbeat. The queen stepped closer once more, her hand reaching out but stopping in the air, inches away from his skin, her claws trembling, her power flickering. She wanted to touch, to confirm what she was feeling, but she held back. Arik stood still, his body weak, his eyes sharp, his heart ready for whatever came. He did not pull away. He did not beg. He simply existed in her shadow, and in that stillness, in that fragile moment, fate sealed a path neither of them could escape. The queen whispered one final thought into his mind before the chamber faded into silence. "You are not like the others," she said, her voice carrying wonder and fear. And though Arik did not know it yet, though he could not see the storm that would come, this single encounter, this strange connection, had already begun a chain of events that would shake both their worlds. The human warrior and the alien queen, enemies by birth, now bound by something deeper than war. Something neither had planned, something neither understood. The secret discovery. The war outside continued without pause, fleets fired, planets burned. Soldiers screamed, but inside the alien palace, the queen carried a secret heavier than any crown. After the encounter with the human warrior, her body had not felt the same. Her pulse raced when it should have been calm. Her power flickered like a broken star. Her nights were restless, filled with visions that disturbed even her iron mind. She saw the human in her dreams, his eyes steady, his courage unbroken, and each time she woke, she felt something alive moving inside her. Not pain, not sickness, but change. The alien queen, ruler of an empire that stretched across galaxies, had never known weakness. She had never known fear of the body, but now her own form betrayed her. She walked the halls with cold grace, but inside she was unsettled. Her generals noticed her silence, her shifting mood, her sharper temper. Whispers spread in the palace. Some said the queen was ill, some said she was losing her power. Others dared to think of rebellion, yet none knew the truth. None could imagine what had happened in the chamber. None could imagine that the human warrior had left more than scars in her mind. He had left a mark in her body, in the privacy of her chamber. She placed her hand against her stomach, the strange energy pulsing there. Her claws trembled, though she hated to admit it. She was carrying something impossible. Her empire's science had created weapons that could destroy worlds. They had bent biology to their will, but never had there been a union between human and alien. Never had there been a spark that crossed the line between enemy races. The queen tried to deny it. She told herself it was sickness. She told herself it was battle fatigue. But the energy grew stronger each day, her blood warmer, her heartbeat louder, her body responding in ways even she could not control. And in the deep of night, when shadows stretched across her chamber walls, she would hear a second pulse. Faint, small, yet undeniable, a new life. Her mind battled itself. She was a queen. She was a conqueror. She was terror made flesh. How could she, of all beings, carry the child of a human? How could her body betray her loyalty to her empire, her oath to her ancestors? But every time she thought of destroying it, every time she thought of ending the spark inside her, she could not. Her claws would freeze, her heart would tighten, a strange protectiveness rising like a shield she had never known. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, the human warrior Arik also felt restless. His body had healed from wounds, but his nights were broken by dreams of the queen. Her eyes burning in his mind, her voice whispering in his blood, he woke in sweat, his veins glowing faintly with energy that no human doctor could explain. Scientists ran tests, machines scanned his cells. They found traces of alien power binding with his DNA. Arik did not understand. He thought he had simply survived. But deep inside he felt a pull, a bond like a thread stretching across space, connecting him to something far greater. He would stand on the training fields, but his heart would beat with a rhythm that was not his own. He would look at the stars and feel the queen's gaze watching him. Though she was galaxies away back in the alien palace, the queen hid her secret well. She wore her crown of iron. Her voice thundered in council, but her thoughts were divided. Her generals grew bold, sensing something was wrong one night. One general dared to question her in front of others. He asked if her strength was fading, if the war had broken her will. The queen's fury exploded. Her power crushed him in an instant. His body shattered like glass. The chamber fell silent. Fear returned to the room, yet even in her anger, she felt the small life inside her untouched, unharmed, protected by some force beyond her control. That was the moment she knew this was not weakness. This was not sickness, this was destiny. But destiny could not be revealed, not yet. If the Empire discovered her truth, they would destroy her. If the humans discovered it, they would never trust her. If the child survived, it would become the most hunted being in the galaxy. So the queen wrapped her secret in silence. She hid it behind walls of stone and guards of fire. But every step she took, every breath she drew, reminded her of the human, reminded her of the impossible seed now growing inside her. Arik, on the other side of the war, felt it too, though he did not yet understand. His hands shook sometimes. His heart raced when he thought of her. His mind told him it was madness. Yet his soul whispered it was real. The battlefield was changing, not with ships, not with weapons, but with life. A fragile spark hidden inside the queen, a spark that would change everything. The secret discovery was hers alone for now, but secrets have a way of breaking free, and soon the galaxy would feel its weight. The human awakens. The war had slowed for a moment, not ended, never ended, but slowed. Fleets pulled back to repair. Armies counted the dead. Planets rebuilt their broken walls, yet far from the battlefield. On Earth, Captain Arik felt no peace. He was alive, yes, his body healed from wounds, his scars closing with time, but something inside him refused to rest. His nights were not silent, his days were not calm. His blood carried a storm he did not understand, At night he dreamed of her, the alien queen, her eyes burning like suns, her voice whispering in his mind, sometimes sharp, sometimes soft, sometimes filled with power, sometimes filled with something almost human. He would wake drenched in sweat, his chest pounding, his veins glowing faintly with a strange blue light, a light no doctor could explain. Scientists tested him. Machines scanned his blood. They found traces of energy. Not human, not natural, alien. They called it contamination. They called it infection. But Arik knew it was something more. He could feel it deep inside. It was not killing him, it was changing him. When he trained with other soldiers, his body moved faster than before, his senses sharper. He could hear the hum of machines. He could feel the heartbeat of men standing across the field. Sometimes he knew what they would do before they did it. Whispers spread among the humans, too. Some said he was touched by alien power. Some said he was cursed. But Arik did not care for their whispers. He only cared for the dreams. The dreams grew stronger, more real. Sometimes he felt he was not just dreaming, but seeing. He saw the queen standing in her palace, her hand pressed against her stomach, her face heavy with thought. He felt her emotions, waves of anger, waves of pain, waves of something gentler, softer, something that confused him more than any weapon. One night the dream became more than a dream. He stood in a dark void, the queen's shadow before him. Her voice not a whisper now, but clear. She asked him if he could feel it too. The bond, the link that tied them together. Arik's throat went dry. He tried to speak, but his voice echoed weakly. He told her he did not understand. He told her he was only a soldier. He did not belong in her world. The queen's eyes glowed brighter. She told him destiny did not care for belonging. Destiny had already chosen. Arik woke with a scream, his chest burning, his room glowing with blue light. Soldiers burst through the door, weapons raised. But when they saw him, they froze, his body glowing like fire, energy spilling from his skin, then fading as quickly as it came. From that night forward, he knew there was no escape. The bond was real. The queen was in his blood and he was in hers. The human commanders watched him closely. Some feared him, some wanted to use him. Scientists begged to cut deeper, to learn his secret, but Arik refused. He would not become an experiment. He would not become a tool. He felt drawn to the stars, drawn to her. Each day the pull grew stronger, like an invisible chain tugging at his soul. One evening, he stood at the edge of the base, watching the horizon burn orange, and he whispered to himself. He whispered her name, though he had never spoken it aloud, though no human tongue should have been able to shape it. Yet it slipped from his lips with ease. Far away in her palace, the queen froze, her breath sharp. She heard his whisper in her mind, his voice soft but clear. She clutched her stomach, feeling the life inside stir, and for the first time she smiled, though only for a heartbeat. Back on Earth, Arik felt the answer. He felt her breath, her presence, as if she stood beside him. He fell to his knees, overwhelmed, the bond stronger than ever before. He tried to fight it, he tried to break free, but each attempt only made it grow. He was changing, his humanity bending, reshaping, not into alien, not into something known, but into something new. Soldiers began to notice. They whispered louder now. Some called him blessed. Others called him dangerous, a weapon too unstable. A man no longer fully human. Arik ignored them. He focused on the connection. He needed answers. He needed to know why this bond existed, why his blood glowed, why his dreams felt real, why his heart beat in time with hers, and slowly, the truth began to crawl into his mind, not with words but with instinct, with feeling, with whispers that came from her. He was not just connected to the queen. He was connected to something inside her, something small, something alive. At first he thought it was madness. At first he thought his mind was breaking, but the feeling returned again and again, steady, undeniable. It was not just her he felt. It was another heartbeat, faint but real, faint but tied to his own blood. The realization shook him. He stood in silence for a long time, staring at the stars, his chest heavy, his hands trembling. The human warrior understood then, though he could not yet speak it aloud, that his fate was no longer his alone, that his blood, his bond, had created something impossible, and deep inside he knew the galaxy would never be the same again. The queen's transformation. The alien queen walked the halls of her palace like a shadow, her crown shining, her presence commanding, yet inside her body something stirred, something new, something she could not control. For centuries she had been the same, unshaken, unbroken, her mind sharp as blades. Her body stronger than steel, but now her form betrayed her. Her nights restless, her thoughts divided, her heart heavier than it had ever been. She looked into the mirrors of black crystal. The reflection staring back at her no longer felt the same. Her eyes glowed brighter. Her skin shimmered faintly with new colors. Her voice carried tones she did not recognize. Her generals noticed too, though none dared to say it aloud. She was still their queen, she was still death made flesh. Yet they whispered in the corners, they plotted in silence, sensing that something had changed. She heard the whispers. She felt the suspicion. But she allowed none of it to reach her face. She killed doubt with silence. She killed rebellion with fire. Yet still the secret grew inside her. The life within her was no ordinary life. Each day she felt its pulse stronger. Each day its energy burned brighter. And with it came emotions she had never known. Emotions that frightened her more than any weapon. She felt tenderness, she felt warmth, she felt longing. Words that had never belonged to a queen of conquest. Words that did not belong to the ruler of an empire built on fear. Sometimes she sat alone in her chamber, her clawed hand resting on her stomach, feeling the small heartbeat beneath. And in those moments she was not a queen. She was not a conqueror. She was simply a being, carrying something fragile. But the transformation was not only within, it was outside too. Her powers changed. Her strength grew unpredictable, sometimes exploding without command, sometimes vanishing when she needed them most. Once, during a meeting, her generals accused each other of weakness, voices clashing like blades, and when she rose to silence them, a wave of energy burst from her body, shattering the walls, throwing soldiers to the ground. The generals stared in shock. Never before had they seen her lose control. Never before had they seen her power act without her will, and in their eyes she saw the spark of doubt. Rebellion was not far, she knew it. They were waiting for weakness. They were waiting for the day her crown slipped. And if they discovered her secret, if they discovered the child growing inside her, they would not wait. They would strike. She could not allow it. So she wore her mask tighter. She roared louder. She ruled with heavier chains. But in private, she changed, she softened. And with each passing night, her dreams grew sharper. She no longer only saw the human warrior. She felt him. She felt his strength, his breath, his confusion, his stubborn heart that would not bend. Her hand would tremble when she woke, her thoughts torn between rage and longing, between duty and destiny, between killing him and protecting him. The bond pulled her like a chain of fire. She hated it, yet she needed it. And in her quiet moments she whispered his name. Though no alien tongue was meant to shape human words, yet they slipped from her lips. Far across the stars, Arik heard those whispers, his own body reacting, his own mind torn. But in the palace, the queen faced new danger. Her generals gathered in secret, they plotted. They said the queen had grown unstable. They said she had lost the purity of their kind. They said she must be replaced. One general, bold with ambition, stood before her during council and questioned her strength. He spoke of weakness, of betrayal. He spoke of the empire needing a ruler who was not corrupted. The queen's fury erupted, her power lashed out. His body shattered, his voice silenced. The council fell into fear again, but the whispers only grew louder in the shadows. She knew time was short. Her transformation could not be hidden forever. Soon the empire would know. Soon the galaxy would know. In her private chamber she stood before the stars. Her claws curled into fists, her eyes burning with conflict. She was a queen. She was a ruler of death. Yet she was also something else now. She was a mother. And the child she carried was not just hers, it was his. The human warriors. A life born of two worlds. A life that could unite or destroy. Her transformation was not weakness. It was evolution, but no one could see it yet. No one could understand it yet. She looked into the night sky and whispered to herself, "They will not take you from me." Her voice was soft, trembling, filled with something no one had ever heard from her before. Not rage, not command, but love. And in that moment, the alien queen who had crushed empires, who had ruled through terror, who had never bowed to any force, felt fear, not for herself, but for the life within her. Her transformation was complete. Not of power, not of throne, but of heart. And with it came a storm that would soon shake the galaxy. The warships, the galaxy was never quiet. Not for long. War was a storm that always returned. And now the storm gathered again. In the alien empire, whispers turned to plans. Generals who once bowed now sharpened their blades in secret. They spoke of a queen who had changed, a queen who had grown weak. They believed she had lost her purity. They believed she was no longer the ruler they had feared. The queen knew their eyes watched her closer each day. She could feel their doubt like knives at her back. Yet she kept her secret hidden, her crown still heavy on her head, her voice still thunder in the council chambers. But the transformation inside her grew harder to hide. Her body glowed with strange light. Her strength surged without control. Her temper broke faster, and in her silence, she carried fear not for herself, but for the child within across the stars on Earth. Captain Auric felt the change as well. His blood pulsed with alien fire. His dreams filled with the Queen's voice. Her struggles, her loneliness, her defiance. Sometimes he woke in the middle of the night gasping for air, feeling her pain as if it were his own. Other times he stood in the training yard and suddenly felt her rage, her fury at betrayal, his body shaking as if the war inside her was also inside him. The human commanders noticed too. They saw him growing different. His reflexes faster, his strength heavier, his eyes carrying a glow that did not belong to a normal soldier. Some called him a gift, others called him a danger. But all agreed he was no longer just a man. He was something in between, something new. Rumors spread that he could hear the enemy queen in his dreams. Rumors that he was tied to her. Rumors that frightened the Council of Earth. Yet Auric kept silent. He did not tell them everything. He did not tell them of the bond. He did not tell them of the second heartbeat he sometimes felt, faint but real. A heartbeat that belonged to more than just the queen. One evening, as he stood before the stars, her voice reached him clearer than ever before. She called him not as an enemy, not as prey, but as something else. She asked for his help. The request shocked him. The queen who had destroyed worlds, who had killed without mercy, now spoke with desperation. She told him her generals plotted against her. She told him rebellion grew inside her empire. She told him the child was not safe. Auric's chest tightened, the words echoing in his blood. He asked her why he should help, why he should care for the life of an enemy. Her voice trembled softer than he had ever heard. She said it was not only her life at risk, it was his as well, for the bond tied them together. For the child was part of him. Auric's mind reeled. The truth he had only guessed at now spoken aloud. The queen was carrying his blood. The queen was carrying their child. The war outside meant nothing in that moment. The battlefield shrank to silence. His world narrowed to one truth: he was a father. The realization struck him like fire. Fear and wonder mixing in his heart, he paced his chamber, his fists tight, his mind burning. How could such a thing exist? How could he, a human soldier, be bound to the most feared being in the galaxy? But as the truth settled, so did resolve. He knew he could not ignore it. He knew he could not walk away. The life inside her was part of him, and no matter how impossible, no matter how dangerous, he would not abandon it. The next battle came quickly. Alien fleets moving with new aggression. Human ships rushing to defend. Both sides preparing for another storm. But behind the clash of armies, a deeper war had begun. The queen against her own generals. Auric against his own commanders. Both trapped by duty. Both tied by blood. Both standing on the edge of choices that could change the galaxy. In the alien palace, one general dared to move. He marched with soldiers loyal to him, planning to strike, planning to claim the throne. The queen stood tall, her claws sharp, her eyes burning. Yet inside she felt the stir of fear, not for herself, but for the small heartbeat she carried. Far away, Auric felt it too. A sudden rush of panic, a sudden cry that echoed through his chest. Without thinking, he ran to his commanders, demanding to know the plans, demanding to be sent back to the battlefield. They refused at first, but the glow in his eyes, the fire in his blood, made them hesitate, made them realize they could not control him forever. The war had shifted. It was no longer just about humans and aliens, no longer just about planets and fleets. It was about a secret life, a child of two worlds, a child that could unite or destroy, and now, both sides were moving closer to a truth that could not stay hidden much longer. The queen stood in her throne room as rebellion began to rise. Auric stood on Earth with his heart pounding, and across the stars their bond grew tighter, their fates locked, their choices narrowing to one path. The storm was coming, and this time no empire, no army could stop it. The final choice. The galaxy trembled, fleets gathered, weapons armed. Both humans and aliens prepared for the largest battle yet. The stars themselves looked ready to burn. But in the heart of it all, two lives stood at the center. Captain Auric, the human warrior who had survived the impossible, and the alien queen, ruler of 1,000 worlds, bearer of a secret no empire could accept. The rebellion inside her palace had spread. Generals who once bowed now rose with armies, their banners of betrayal flying high. They shouted that the queen was corrupted, that she carried weakness in her blood, that she must be destroyed before the empire itself fell. The queen stood in her throne room, her claws gleaming, her eyes burning, yet her body heavy, the child inside her stronger than ever, its heartbeat echoing in her chest, echoing across the bond she shared with Auric. Far away, Auric stood on the bridge of a human ship, his commanders shouting orders, fleets preparing to strike. But his mind was not with them. His mind was with her. He could feel her fear, her rage, her pain, as if they were his own. He could not ignore it. He could not turn away. Though every voice around him called her the enemy, though every soldier prepared to fire, his heart pulled him toward her. The decision burned inside him, the final choice. Would he stand with his people and destroy her? Or would he cross the line, betray everything he had sworn, and save her, save their child? The alarm screamed, the fleets clashed. The war roared again, human ships against alien rebels. The void filled with fire, but Auric broke from his orders. He took a fighter and launched into the storm, his hands steady, his eyes fierce. He knew where he had to go. Through the chaos he flew, past burning wrecks and dying soldiers, his bond guiding him, pulling him toward the palace, toward the queen inside the throne room. The queen fought with fury, waves of energy crashing from her body, traitor soldiers falling before her claws. But the numbers were too many. Even her power could not hold forever. Her breath grew heavy, her body trembling, and still she refused to fall. She whispered to the life inside her, telling it she would not let them take it, telling it she would fight until her last breath. Then the doors burst open, rebels poured in. Blades raised, guns aimed, the queen staggered, her power flickering, her crown slipping. And at that moment Auric arrived, his fighter crashing through the walls, flames and smoke filling the chamber. He leapt out, his rifle blazing, his armor broken but his will unbroken. The rebels froze, stunned at the sight of a human standing beside their queen. Auric shouted with fire in his voice. He told them he would not let her fall. He told them he would not let the child die. He told them that this war had gone too far. Some rebels laughed, some charged. But the queen rose again, her strength renewed at his side, her bond with him burning brighter than ever. Together they fought, human and alien. Claw and rifle side by side, the chamber shook with battle. The walls cracked, the air burned. Soldiers fell in heaps, yet still more came. Waves of traitors desperate to end the queen. Desperate to end the bond, Auric's blood glowed as he fought, his body moving faster than human, stronger than alien. His power born from both worlds. The queen's fury burned hotter than ever, her energy lashing out like storms, her eyes glowing like twin suns, and with every strike, she felt her child's heartbeat steady. Alive, strong, at last the last of the rebels fell, the chamber silent except for the crackle of fire. The queen dropped to her knees, her body weak, her claws trembling. Auric rushed to her, his hands steady, his voice soft. He told her to hold on. He told her the war was not over, not yet. She looked into his eyes, her crown broken, her body wounded, and for the first time she allowed herself to show her truth, her voice shaking as she said, "The child is ours." Auric felt the words strike his heart, heavy as stone, yet bright as light. The truth he had known but now spoken, the truth that tied their fates forever. But outside, the fleet still burned. Humans still fought aliens, the war not ended, the galaxy not yet changed. And now the weight of the final choice pressed down harder than ever. The queen whispered that they could run, hide in the shadows, protect the child from all sides. But Auric shook his head, his eyes steady, his voice calm. He said running would only delay. The galaxy would hunt them forever. He said the only path was to reveal the truth, to show them the child, to show them the future. The queen hesitated, her fear heavy, her pride wounded. But as she felt the heartbeat inside her, as she looked at the man who stood beside her, she knew he was right. Together they rose. Together they faced the burning stars. Together they prepared to reveal what no one had ever imagined. A child of human and alien, a child born from enemies, a child that could unite or destroy. The final choice was not theirs alone anymore. It was for the galaxy itself, and the galaxy would never be the same.